Welcome everyone to my Lunch and Learn. For people on YouTube, I am Rudy Mutter, co-owner of Yeti, CTO here. So I'm going to eat my lunch and learn today on the 401. So we're going to start off with a trivia question. You have heard me ask this before. You should not answer it. Who has heard me ask this question before? Just tell me. All right, nice. What do people think? What state in the United States has the longest state name?
Mississippi.
It's a good guess. I feel like I remember you've heard me say this before, but no.
No memory. Like 2 words. 4.
Anything's fair game. Any state.
Do any of the states have like secret bonds?
No. Mississippi?
Not it.
Can I go down?
Oh, I said that.
Yeah, but it's not. Rhode Island on its own is not the longest. It's the fact that Rhode Island has a secret long name, as America maybe just said. It's actually the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations is the official name of the state of Rhode Island. Where I'm from, the 401 is Rhode Island's area code. In case you didn't know that, and Tony was able to pull it together. This is the lovely flag and symbol of Rhode Island here. The state motto is hope, and it's called the Ocean State, hence the anchor. In 2010, there was a ballot to remove Providence Plantations from the state name, and overwhelmingly, Rhode Island voted to keep it. The 22% was upset because obviously there is like slave trade connotations to the word plantation being in the name, and Rhode Island was heavy in slave trade, based on being like one of the original colonies and being on the water. And it hasn't been voted on since then, so it's stayed, and it's still like the longest state. The reason why it's called Rhode Island and often confuses people, especially people not from the United States, and that they think Rhode Island might be an island or that it might be part of New York for some reason, and an island off of New York. It's a common thing that people often think. Comes from the Greek island of Rhodes is actually where the name comes from. It's a little fuzzy on exactly the naming, but the first explorers that came over thought like the soil on the beaches on Rhode Island reminded them of the Greek island of Rhodes. Seems like a long stretch, but that's where it came from. So we're gonna do a quick little history. For me, this is a little bit of a refresher. I didn't know some of this stuff about Rhode Island off the top of my head. I do know about Roger Williams, who founded Rhode Island. Basically, people, I know Tony's a big history buff, but does anyone else know about Roger Williams? Does anybody know? Basically, Rhode Island is filled with a bunch of people that got banished from the Massachusetts colonies, essentially, generally speaking. So Roger Williams founded the first like settlement called Providence Plantations. And his whole thing was that there was religious freedom in the colony and you could basically be of whatever you wanted to. He purchased the land from the Narragansett Native Americans that were there. And he was known for basically like not caring about your religion, being very nice to the native peoples and treating them with a lot more respect than people in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. So he went and founded it. It's a lovely statue. There's the Roger Williams Zoo that I went to a lot growing up as a kid. So some people followed along, other people that basically were kind of like banished, exiled from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, and they started other little settlements. So there's one called Portsmouth, another one called Newport, which are all now like cities and towns in Rhode Island today. And again, they all like purchased parcels of land from the Native Americans, etc. Eventually, they decided to all band together as the colony of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, which hence where the state name comes from. So they all came together and combined. They then became known to the rest of New England, especially Massachusetts. It was called like the sewer of New England because people looked at like all these people they didn't like went to Rhode Island and started it. So from there, interestingly, Rhode Island was the first colony to declare independence. And actually the Boston Tea Party was not the first act of war. Rhode Islanders actually attacked a British warship off the coast of Rhode Island first before actually any of the other things happened that started the war with Britain. Nice photo I found online. That probably has nothing to do with actually them deciding to do it. It's called like the Gatsby, and there's a big parade in Warwick every year where they celebrate like attacking this British warship. My stepdad like participates in it and like dresses up, and it's a whole thing in Rhode Island. Gatsby Pride Parade. So that's a brief history. I'm not going to dive into too much more. So I've got a bunch of just interesting facts and things from Rhode Island. Some of these things I knew, some of these things I didn't know existed. This one I think is hilarious. There's a state song, and I don't know if every state has a state song. I've never heard of this, and it's super cringy.
I've been to every state we have, but I think that I'm inclined to say that Rhody stole my heart. You can keep the 49. Herring gulls that dot the skies, blue waves that paint the rocks, waters rich with Neptune's life, the boats that line the docks. I see the lighthouse flickering to help the sailors see there's a place for everyone. Rhode Island's it for me. Rhode Island, oh, Rhode Island, surrounded by...
Never heard this before. It's great. You can leave the other 49. I found the one for me. Yeah. Too bad there's no famous rappers from Rhode Island.
I mean,
Yeah. You can get Pauly D. I don't know if you know things from Rhode Island. So some more interesting facts. It's called the Ocean States. So technically what you're looking at, there's actually this little island off of Rhode Island, down at the bottom there. I don't know why Google shows the new shorthand as the thing. It's called Block Island. And so a lot of people go to Block Island in the summer. There's a ferry to it. So if you draw the boundaries, something like Wikipedia says 33% of Rhode Island is water, if you like inside of its area, mostly because of like Newport and a bunch of the spots you see on the right there. And I feel like they might be factoring in that they draw the boundaries to Block Island. So essentially, ocean state. There are a lot of beaches. There's Newport, which we'll talk about. So this is a little Google Maps from basically the city right near where I live, or from Woonsocket up at the top down to Narragansett, which is pretty much like the southern point you would go to the beach. This trip, like with maybe some traffic, is only 55 minutes to get from the north end of the state to the south end of the state. It's only 45 miles. So a common phrase in Rhode Island is everything is only 20 minutes away. You're in like the Providence, which is the capital, or anywhere from that area, you can pretty much get, generally speaking, anywhere you want to go in 20 minutes. Which to me, growing up, is why people here go to Tahoe and like take trips up the coast or down the coast, and like driving for a few hours is no big deal. It feels like a really long time for me, because going from like my hometown to Boston, which is only like an hour plus drive or so north from this map, was like a big trip. That was long. You can cross from, if you're looking at this, if you were to go across the state, it would take maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and you basically could go through, Massachusetts is actually above and also on the right of Rhode Island, and Connecticut is to the left. You could pretty much go through 3 states in roughly like 30 minutes if you drove across. A little bit of perspective. So I'm gonna talk about some food. I actually brought some that we're gonna have during holiday cheer. Just a little bit. What I had. I wish there was more prepping. I used to have some of this. So this is Rhode Island's state drink called coffee milk. Has anyone had? I think I've had Tony had coffee. Did I bring in once?
no, I went to Rhode Island.
You had coffee milk?
Yeah.
Nice.
You told me that.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So just like there, so and again, so most of these things are Rhode Island only. So anyone else would be quite confused sometimes if they haven't heard about it. So coffee milk is not coffee with milk added to it. It'd be weird as a kid to be drinking that. This is coffee syrup, like you would have chocolate syrup in milk. And so they actually make coffee syrup. Autocrat, this is like the brand that makes it in Rhode Island. And I would drink this all the time growing up. Probably not the healthiest of things, but it's delicious. These are clam cakes. I don't know, has anyone had a clam cake not from Rhode Island? No? No one's there. Well, they also exist outside of Rhode Island, but usually they're flat and they look more pancake-like. So this is battered dough with bits of clam inside of the dough. So like if you go down to the beaches of the shore of Rhode Island, like this is like we would go down to Narragansett and there's like 3 places you would pretty much go and you would have one as your favorite and you would talk shit about the other ones basically. Ours was on Carrie's. So these are like Rhode Island clam cakes. They're in a ball and this is where you go. You go down, you hang on the beach in Narragansett and you would get clam cakes. They're delicious. My grandfather, Pa, also would like make these at home sometimes as well. So you try them. There's this thing called Dell's Lemonade. America has a funny story if you want to ask her about it later. So this is like, there's Dell's, like stands and carts and places that sell this all over the state of Rhode Island. It's only in Rhode Island. Very bizarre, but it's basically lemonade in the summer. If you're on the beach, there'll be a bunch of stands everywhere, and like this is what you go. You get Dell's Lemonade when you're out. Stop at the sign of the lemon. There's these things called Waffles, which doesn't sound too appetizing, but they're kind of like milkshakes. They would have deals like buy one, get one free, like on a Tuesday. I have lots of memories of going like after soccer practice or something to go get an Waffle. The thing on the right is the Big Blue Bug, which is right on the main highway that's through Rhode Island. It's like an advertisement for like a pest control company. But it's there and they dress it up like different times all year. It's been there for I don't know how many decades. And so if you drive through Rhode Island, you will see this Big Blue Bug when you drive by Providence. And it's it weighs something like 2 tons. It's gigantic. Party pizza, which people either have an immediate guttural reaction that they think it sounds disgusting, which is fine. I love this. So growing up as a kid, if I went to like a birthday party, this would be there. It's cold pizza. There's a little bit of cheese underneath the tomato sauce. So you would go buy a full one from a bakery if you were gonna have like a party or something. Or if you're kind of at a grocery store, they'll have those individually wrapped ones. They can also be called like pizza strips is what they'll be called. But like, again, when I had some of my first internships, jobs in Boston, like all these things I'm talking about, a lot of people had never heard of them. And I would bring them up into the office for people to try. People thought I made party pizza out there. Like, this can't be a real thing. It sounds terrible.
Is this a leftover pizza?
No, it is made like this on purpose.
Oh.
This is how people enjoy, generally because it'll keep well for multiple days and still taste totally fine because it was never really hot. And so for a party, you basically get this. You keep it in your fridge and then you pull it out for the party. It's delicious. You just gotta trust it. Huh?
What's the bread?
It's not ciabatta. I don't really know. I couldn't tell you. It's very like airy.
It reminds me of like focaccia. Yeah, that's what I meant. Focaccia.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So there's like some Parmesan type cheese underneath the sauce. That's also cold. Portuguese muffins. I even think some people in Rhode Island have never heard about these, but I ate these for breakfast all the time growing up. So Rhode Island has a big like Portuguese population as well. You can find these at grocery stores all over Rhode Island. This is what I have with me for later. My dad came recently and he brought some with me. They're in the fridge if anyone happens to be like, why is there a bag of these weird things? So you actually cut them in half, kind of like an English muffin, and then you toast them usually, and then I put peanut butter or butter on them. They're delicious. So we'll try those later. Everyone's excited for it. I think Tony's had one.
I don't remember.
I think I brought this in coffee milk in like a long time ago. So Stuffies. Anyone watch Family Guy here or have watched Family Guy? So Family Guy is based on a made up town in Rhode Island, pretty much like Newport or something. The name of the town is called Quahog. There is no Quahog, Rhode Island, but yeah, Family Guy is actually in Rhode Island. There's this. You can see the sign down below. You are now entering Quahog, Rhode Island. Taste our clam. So this is basically a big clam on the left here that has a bunch of like stuffing.